we see in today's generation that how women are actually playing male's role. Women are cast in superhero movies. Women are actually cast in superhero movies. Women are no more the princess that are in distress and need to be saved by a prince. Women no more are cast in films because of the glam factor. Because of the fact women are now cast in movies because they can actually run the movie. We believe that when this is the status quo, why do we see the discrimination in the awarding process? We see that even though women are playing male roles, they cannot compete with males in the award section. Why? Because there is a different. Even though the same category of acting receives separated into two sections for males and females. We believe, ladies and gentlemen, that should never be the case, because now if women are actually capable of competing with men as they are, and we believe that we should make this award process gender biased. Why do we choose Oscars as this award Oscar awards as to change the status quo? We believe, ladies and gentlemen, Oscar acts as an international award ceremony. It's whenever we see changes in Oscars, other award ceremonies follow these changes. We see that the entire world actually follows the concepts, how the nomination process works in Oscars. So we believe when we bring this change into Oscars, other award ceremonies will also adopt to these changes, and therefore the change that we want to achieve through our model will be brought forward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, moving on to the constructive of this house today, we have 4 arguments to support our case. Firstly, the significance of the Oscar award. Firstly, the progress in acting and singing and this entertainment business. Secondly, the significance of the Oscar awards. Thirdly, how it values awards and competition. And fourthly, how it benefits stakeholders. So we'll be talking about the first 2 arguments. I'll be talking about the first 2 arguments, and the second speaker will bring on the next 2. Now, to talk about the first argument, we believe, ladies and gentlemen, in the film industries, in the entertainment industry, we don't have gender stereotyping anymore. We see that even to bring an analogy, we see that even there are women playing in the World Cup. We see that there is the cricket of women playing in the World Cup. We see that these changes are being brought forward. We see that there is no gender stereotyping in movies anymore. We see that Angelina Jolie single-handedly ran Salt. We see that Scarlett Johansson was the lead role in Catwoman. We have seen how in Avengers that it was not only the superheroes, but we had a female superhero as well. So it's not anymore that the actresses are anymore the princesses in distress that men need to save. We have seen how in the Bollywood that women empowerment has occurred. How Vidya Balan herself has actually made the biggest blockbuster of 2011, The Dirty Picture. She single-handedly run that movie. We have seen so many movies coming where women were empowered. We have seen Kareena Kapoor. We have seen so many. It's not anymore that women are in the movies for these glam factors. We believe, ladies and gentlemen, previously, in the previous decades, we saw that men were actually there for the fact of that men were the heroes. Men were the heroes, and it was the women women were the glam factor and were there to attract men. And that is not the case anymore, because actors now also need to have abs. Actors also need to have muscles to actually run that movie. So we believe that if this exchange of roles is occurred, why in the awarding process we can't have why can't we have them competing side by side and fight for 1 award of acting? Because that's what they're doing. If someone is singing, ladies and gentlemen, and it matters on the talent that they have, it matters on the hard work that they have put on. It's it's not about, it matters on the popularity that these people have. It's not about how, it's not about if they're male or if they're female. So we believe that if, because the reason that they're getting the award for does not depend on the gender that they're in, we believe that there should not be, this difference should not be in the award process. Moving on to the second argument, but before that, sir.
Do you think the abs of James Bond attracts the same criteria of fans as the sexy figure of Angelina Jolie?
Yes, sir. Because if James Bond has abs, and if men want to see James Bond, they will go to the theaters and they will see it. But because before we saw that if male were the sex bombs and that for those they went to the movie theaters, but that's not the case because now the audience also appreciate the acting of the women, and we believe that for these reasons they should be awarded accordingly as well. Moving on to the second argument, the significance of the Oscars. We believe, ladies and gentlemen, that these award system is a quota system and it is a form of affirmative action for these women. We believe that this should not be the case because this portrays women as the weaker sex because they cannot compete with men, because there is perceived assumption, there is perception that women cannot compete with men, that they are considered as the weaker sex, and therefore we categorize one category into two for males and females. We believe that this discrimination should not be there because women, as we have seen in the progress, that women are not different than men. The roles that they are playing are not different than the roles that are played by women. So we believe that this difference should not be there whatsoever. When we create this difference, women are considered as someone who cannot compete with men, and therefore we need to categorize it. Then the Nobel Prize, ladies and gentlemen, don't have gender bias. Nobel Prize is given only on the basis that if you are talented, and we believe that Oscar being the biggest award for these film industries, we believe that it should not have this bias as well. And we believe, ladies and gentlemen, Oscar being viewed by everyone in the world, being the most prestigious award, we believe that it has the significance big enough that we cannot actually create this difference in Oscars particularly. And we believe that when we make this change, this sends a message to the society that women no more are the underdogs. Women can actually fight with men and get that award based on their talent and not on the fact that they are women. And we don't need that difference because we have seen that progress occurring, and we see that when they deserve it and they are actually capable of fighting for it, we believe that this difference should not be there. So we've shown you that there is no need for this difference, and we've shown you that how exactly women deserve this change, and for how they are perceived in society, we believe that we should take it away.
Speakers spoke for 8 minutes and 20 seconds.
Thank you for beginning this debate. Now may I ask the first speaker from Team Opposition to negate this thing?
Mr. Speaker, what the government in the House today do not realize is the fact of the very concept of acting in the first place, and why the discrimination, which is not discrimination but actually a fact of categorization of the first place. And today, being a good opposition, today we are going to show you why this prevails and why it is not a sort of discrimination. They believe in the status quo, and we are going to show you how the very status itself promotes and upholds the idea. Today we have two major arguments in the House. Firstly, through the concept of movies, we are going to show you how the categorization is prevailed, and my second speaker will come up and show you the actually benefits and the effects that it has on overall the. But before that, I'll be rebutting a few points. What is the thing that mainly the government side actually put out? It is the very factor that, see, we have to come up and take away this discrimination. We have to uphold the women's rights. But you have to see that this categorization is there in a place. When they come up and tell us that, look at the very fact that the film industry is not stereotyping anymore. It is open to the genres. It is open women to action movies. These days, men become glam bombs. Yes, we do believe that the film center is open, but you have to see the fan-following base. They have come up and told us that women being superheroes are very popular. But let's see, let's face into the Hollywood scenario. The only major woman superhero movie we got was Catwoman by Halle Berry, and it flopped in the box office horribly. While we see movies like Avengers, Hulk, Spider-Man, Superman blockbustering in the box office all day long, because it's the very perception of how the categorization takes place. They do believe and come up, according to them, Bollywood is an open sector for the women's and me. Just because one movie, which comes in a zillion years in that particular field, where a woman actually shown, that shows how much it is the industry is not open there in the first place. But then again, we are considering the Oscars. And Oscars is a place where we see the film industry is much more liberal. But they have to understand which type of movies and actors acting in which type of movies do they take the Oscar. It is not the action movies. It is not the comedy movie, but it's the drama and the social type movies where the people actually oppose the people of the statuses in the society. We see Meryl Streep winning her Oscar and earning the highest amount of money in the film industry, being the PM of England, because those type of roles actually come up. We see George Clooney winning the last year's Oscars because of upholding a desperate, destitute father's role. Those are the type of movies to win, and these are certain types of categories which are further enhancing my argument to show you why this categorization takes place. Then, this is the point where the discrimination is actually not coming in factor, because the Oscars are not discriminating you, but actually is upholding your character to the shine. We do believe, yes, we do agree to the, after I finish my rebuttal, we do agree to their side that yes, Oscars is the platform to come up and tell about it, but you have to see what Oscar stands for. Oscar stands for promoting good movies. They are there to promote good actors, and that is why their categorization is there to place to show you the best actor and actress in the world. When we are pretty much neutraling this gender war, what happens? Let's see. Mostly films about emotions take place, but you have to see that then we'll only be letting one type of gender having the added advantage of emotion, and that is where the discrimination reveals, not the discrimination. Women are not discriminated. No one ever says that, see, I am not being able to compete with a man, because let's face it, there are other sectors which are divided too, even the singing profession, because that is the very art. Yes,
ma'am, we don't believe in quality versus quantity. If that the actress is better than that actor, why can't she compete with him and get it? Why do we need to have 2 awards for it?
You have to understand, how do you define better in the first place? Their very roles and concepts are very different. The gender they are from describes them with different roles in the society and in the movie industry. How do you define better in that place? We do not get it. Moving on to my argument to come up, the very concept of movies and how it goes. You have to see that why are the men and women are differentiated in the first place. We see World Cup. Do we see men and women being in the same World Cup in the same football or cricket team? No, Mr. Speaker, we don't. But is that discrimination? No, Mr. Speaker, that is not discrimination. That is categorized into different because of their physicality, Mr. Speaker. Because of the merits they hold. If we put against the women and the men against each other, that would be discrimination, because we are going to show that now one sex is weaker. That is not how it prevails. That is cannot be taken. We have to keep them in their core identity for them to prevail. Yes, they do come up and we do call them of the Nobel Peace Prize, but you have to see the categorization in that place, because Nobel is something that brings about peace, and every inherent person has that. So Nobel is that categorization, Mr. Speaker. In sports, we see women doing better as athletes, as swimmers, than men are being. But in boxing, we see men being superior, because that is the characteristics gender particularly holds in the society, and flourishing in that actually gives them a better chances of actually showing to the world what they are. We see in the music and the pop industry that men are better in rock and roll and metal, while women are performing better in pop star. When the best female of the year is announced, or the best male of the year is announced as a singer, we see in the Brit Awards or the Emmys or the Grammys that these particular fields brings them upon. And that is where it comes to the movies in the stereotype first place. Movies give you the very fields open in that order, Mr. Speaker. Let's see. When Meryl Streep came up and showed the very performance of the first female minister to come up and the problems she went through for being a first female minister, can a man uphold that character? No. Will he ever get to uphold that emotion in a movie? No, Mr. Speaker, because that is the position of him in the society. While George Clooney, when he came up in a society where we come up and say mothers are the best, he came up and showed how a father can come up and live to it. Can a woman take that emotion? No, Mr. Speaker. When you merge them in a single category, the problem will be having in hand that we cannot difference the very factor. The very emotion in the hand will be there. Let's see. A woman may a woman's emotion, we should go in that. But that would be discriminating because a men's emotion that they portray in a movie, in a sector is very different compared to a woman. When it comes to the award, we keep it categorized different because we need to analyze in that perspective the roles that are provided by male to the film industry and women are categorized in that. We do not merge them, and even if opposition believes the very fact that we should merge them, you have to believe that in this world it is highly impossible to make a man's role done by a woman or a woman's role done by a man. And this is why the categorization prevails in the first place. Mr. Speaker, summing up, today what did the government side came up with? It's discriminating. Men and women are open, they can do it, but we are actually showing you how men and women is not separated due to discrimination, but separated due to the categorization and the rights they uphold in the society. They come up and say, have never given a principal justification why we should actually combine them together. All they have ever said is that we should promote. While the opposition show you that there is no discrimination, it's actually a better way to uphold the message in the society, and in this categorization is for the best, and that is what we beg to oppose.
Thank you.
You just spoke for 8 minutes and 12 seconds.
Yeah. Now, may I ask the second speaker from the proposition to present their core constructive? Thank you.
There. Mr. Speaker, sir, the opposition side comes up and basically think that they can do the job better than the jury, which decides which movie is actually better. Mr. Speaker, sir, you know there is a very talented group of people who actually make the decision of who should get the Oscar, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because they believe that they are not capable of understanding which emotion in a movie is portrayed better. When they take the example of George Clooney portraying a destitute father, Mr. Speaker, sir, and then take the example of Meryl Streep portraying whatever, she portrayed a different emotion because in another movie. They said that we cannot mix those two movies and find out which was portrayed better. Because I believe it can be done. You can take both those emotions and can actually see which emotion was portrayed better in the movie, Mr. Speaker, sir. Which emotion was actually said to have a better message in order to the whole society itself, Mr. Speaker, sir. That is exactly why we have juries and not me and you deciding which movie should be better, Mr. Speaker, sir. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker, sir, when you think you're better than the jury, the jury's job doesn't get any easier. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, in her very first argument was why men and women are so much different and why they cannot merge together. In that, she gave the example repeatedly of women athletes and in sports, which means I would like to tell you, women athletes are not as good as men. When you compare them as a physical way, Mr. Speaker, sir, you cannot believe that a women athlete will run faster than Usain Bolt. You cannot believe that a women athlete will swim better than Michael Phelps, Mr. Speaker, sir, the greatest Olympian of all time. Moving on, Mr. Speaker, sir, you cannot believe that a women cricketer will play better than Sachin Tendulkar, Mr. Speaker, sir, because the physical prowess, Mr. Speaker, sir. Because we need to understand the fact that in movies, you're not actively engaging on the field itself, Mr. Speaker, sir. In movies, you are displaying emotions, Mr. Speaker, sir. In movies, there is not real live ability of you have to portray your physical prowess. Because they ask us the example of where a woman movie was actually hit. As far as a man, we give the example of Sword, Mr. Speaker, sir. In that, Angelina Jolie clearly showed how good a woman can be when she actually wants to do an action film, Mr. Speaker, sir. It was one of the biggest hits of 2011, Mr. Speaker, sir. And that shows exactly how much a woman can do. Secondly, Mr. Speaker, sir, in Avengers, as Scarlett Johansson, Mr. Speaker, sir, was the best Avenger, was the favorite Avenger of many people because she portrayed it as Black Widow, Mr. Speaker, sir. She was a very important part of those movies, Mr. Speaker, sir. Moving on, Mr. Speaker, sir. So sir, they asked us why affirmative action is actually needed in this movie. They questioned the very reason why we have done this debate at the very first place. Because we believe affirmative action should not be done. Why is that? Because of the fact that right now, speaker sir, affirmative action exists in the industry itself. Right now, affirmative action exists in the industry because of the very fact that women and men are categorized as different. In right now, even though women are playing movies such as sword, are doing movies such as sword, Mr. Speaker sir, we are not still having a different categorization of them, Mr. Speaker sir. She believes, no ma'am. The opposition side believes women cannot portray every kind of role in the movies there are, as well as men cannot portray all the roles. We believe they can, Mr. Speaker sir, and they have repeatedly shown them. Brad Pitt, George Clooney, they are sex symbols, Mr. Speaker sir. They are women go to movies, Mr. Speaker sir, to see them, Mr. Speaker sir. They love to see Brad Pitt swimming, Mr. Speaker sir. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker sir, in 1960s, women male actors were not so great as glamour in the movie. We did not add glamour to the movie, but right now they do, Mr. Speaker sir, and that's because to understand the fact there is a double standard in play here. If we do affirmative action, it's gonna continue if it's not stopped right now. No ma'am. So moving on. Oh yes.
Sure, you have to realize a character is not only based on emotion but their physicality too. Their physicality required them to be fit in that movie, and that's why they have to build up an abs. What do you have to say on that? How do you discriminate that?
Ma'am, when you ask about the physicality of the actor as well as the emotion, you need to understand the fact that, as I repeatedly told you from the start, the jury can base their decisions on that. They cannot just simply say one aspect of the movie and give the decision itself. They have their very job is to see every aspect of the character, every aspect of the movie, and that's when they give the decision, Mr. Speaker sir. Jury are not blind, Mr. Speaker sir. They have been selected because they have a specific job, Mr. Speaker sir, and they are the best people in order to carry out the job. Moving on, Mr. Speaker, we have to trust the jury to do the best decision. So my argument, because the first argument I'm going to present to you, how it increases the value of the award. Firstly, I'm going to talk to you about how the value of the award itself is increased. Because when you have two different categories, Mr. Speaker, so male and female, in that case, few actors hold the basic are getting nomination, Mr. Speaker sir, for the movies itself, Mr. Speaker sir. Right now, the actors do not have to work that very hard, Mr. Speaker sir, in order to get that nomination, Mr. Speaker sir. Actors such as Angelina Jolie, actors such as Scarlett Johansson, they do not have to work unbelievably hard in order to get the nomination, Mr. Speaker sir, and get the award itself. But when you have to compete with men, but when you make women and like Angelina Jolie compete with men like Brad Pitt for that prestigious award, that increases the value of the award itself, Mr. Speaker sir. Because right now you are making it rare. At this very point, Mr. Speaker sir, you are actually differentiating between men and women. You are making it easy for anyone to get that award, Mr. Speaker sir. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker sir, no ma'am, no sir. No ma'am. Mr. Speaker sir, you need to understand the fact that women and men are not so different right now in the society, Mr. Speaker sir. We are not doing this debate in the 1960s when women could not portray men's roles. As we need to understand the fact that we are doing it in the 2012, Mr. Speaker sir. We are repeatedly seeing women being able to do what men can, Mr. Speaker sir. We are repeatedly seeing the women doing what men can. So why do we need to portray women as weaker, Mr. Speaker sir? At the end of the day, in the movie, Mr. Speaker sir, Angelina Jolie did not seem to be at all less physically able than Brad Pitt in Troy, Mr. Speaker sir. You need to understand the fact that these in movies, Mr. Speaker sir, you do not need to do it like in a cricket film, Mr. Speaker sir. It is not live. You have to just portray your character in the best way you can, Mr. Speaker sir. The jury will decide it for that. Moving on, Mr. Speaker sir. The second argument in today's house is how it benefits the movie itself, Mr. Speaker sir. And I'm going to read to you. Because we believe that when you portray women and men in two different categories, Mr. Speaker sir, you do not give them you do not give them such a big incentive to work for, Mr. Speaker sir. Right now, women, because of some women, like some actors, because of their high personality status, no sir, because of their high ability to attract crowds of people at their movies, Mr. Speaker sir, you don't have to work that hard, Mr. Speaker sir, in order to they do not work so hard in order to get the award, Mr. Speaker sir, in order to get the Grammy and other awards, Mr. Speaker sir. No ma'am, no sir. Mr. Sir, when you make two of the best actors in America, Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, compete with each other, Mr. Speaker sir, in order to get that one single Oscar award, at that point of time they will have to work harder. In that point of time, Mr. Speaker sir, they will have to work better, Mr. Speaker sir, in the movie. They will have to act better. At that point of time, Mr. Speaker sir, the movies itself, the concept of movies itself is very better. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker sir, without good actors, you cannot have good movies. Without the best actors, you cannot have good movies, Mr. Speaker sir. At the end of the day, Mr. Speaker sir, the real reason that it benefits movies is because these actors will have to push themselves to the very limit, Mr. Speaker sir. Right now, they do not have to. because their movies are already attracting crowds. But Mr. Sir, at the end of the day, when you see that they have to compete, they have a greater competition, Mr. Sir, because we have given the principal justification of why women are not so different. That's why we are going to take away the categories. Let's see the benefits. The benefit is that they will have to work harder, and their movies will actually be better in quality, Mr. Speaker, sir, because they are gonna have to do everything they can in order to get that award, Mr. Speaker, sir. At the end of the day, because we have given a principal justification, we can understand the fact that how women are actually doing things, how they are actually benefiting the movie by acting better, Mr. Speaker, sir, by having to have a greater incentive. Now, moving on, Mr. Speaker, sir, let's summarize the whole case.
Yes.
Last bit. Considering the whole case, pretty much they have not progressed that acting point. They have tried to divide our point. But I've already told you how women are actually playing men's roles. We have told you about how women can actually portray men's role, and that is why the double standard is done. I've told you my argument. I believe we take the case. Thank you.
Go ahead. Figure score for 8 minutes and 12 seconds.
Thank you. Now, may I ask the second speaker from the opposition to present their constructive justification in the case of the proposition?
Ladies and gentlemen, males and females, that is women and males, they are not only biologically different, but they are different in terms of psychology, in terms of the problems that they face in life, in terms of the society they live in, and in terms of the perception people have about them on the speaker. That they came up and talked about the point of sports. That look, sports is where your physique is measured, but in movies, your physique is not measured. So at the end of the day, in sports is justified to actually separate, because at the end of the day, they are, that's the justification, because physically they admit that they are different. But Honorable Speaker, what we have told you again and again is that women and men, they are not only physically different, but also when it comes to judging what the roles they serve in society, Honorable Speaker, they are different there as well. And from that very perception, Honorable Speaker, we base our point that look, when we actually portray actors and actresses in movies, they have different roles to play. Honorable Speaker, obviously we do not expect a role of a mother, Honorable Speaker, to be properly carried out by a male, Honorable Speaker. Why do I say this? Because when they talk about the point of superheroes, Honorable Speaker, you see, when a superhero is created for a movie has a sideline. You see, in movies there are many themes. For example, one part where there are many obstacles that you have to pass through. These obstacles can be related to both the main story of the movie, and those obstacles are all, like in every movie, firstly there is a background check of what the superhero is, where he comes from, what his family is, and then, Honorable Speaker, starts the movie where as the movie progresses, the character develops. Now, Honorable Speaker, this developing of character is very different for a male and a female, Honorable Speaker. Obviously, we do not, for example, in a teenage movie, Honorable Speaker, so a movie which portrays a teenager, for example, who was a no one, and then one day he becomes a star of his school, by probably because he had talent in music which was never recognized before. Now, Honorable Speaker, if this is the movie's theme, Honorable Speaker, and if this is what the directors want to make a movie on, if the main actor is a male, then the movie would be something like that person, that very guy, if it's a male, then it will be like he would be bullied in class, he actually had a crush on someone on the class, he was always bullied by that, and Honorable Speaker, after fighting all those, after doing a great concert, after doing a great music, he wins that love, Honorable Speaker. That's the story ending. If it's a female, Honorable Speaker, the storyline is quite different. The storyline would be something like, Honorable Speaker, that female is having family restrictions, that female is having problems with actually gelling with the members of the concert, that person is not someone good at socializing. So you see, the storylines differ and the roles differ, Honorable Speaker. And do we actually expect to merge all these, Honorable Speaker, and the jury to decide, Honorable Speaker, that which role is more important, because that is when we will be discriminating. That is when we will be saying that look, the role of a male is more important than they have done, and the role of the female was not more important. So, Honorable Speaker, that is the point. At the end of the day, they serve different roles, and we judge them on the very different roles they serve. That how good is that very woman serving the role compared to others. So, Honorable Speaker, that point is not taken now. Moreover, Honorable Speaker, they talked about the point of yes, separate emotional knowledge. Honorable, why do we have age limits in tournaments, Honorable? Why do we have school tournaments for school kids, tournaments for college kids, Honorable, in football, Honorable? Because you see, at that time, we do take their, Honorable, capabilities in consideration. We are not actually discriminating them, ladies and gentlemen. What they fail to understand is the difference between discrimination and the difference between admitting differences, Honorable Speaker. What we have again and again told to this house is that these differences at the end of the day actually define the very way a movie goes, or the very way an actor or actress is defined, Honorable Speaker. This is not discrimination, because face it, at the end of the day, they talk about the point that we are in a modern age now. We are not in 1960s. Women are coming up. Yes, Honorable Speaker, that is why we see in Olympics women are participating. We see in cricket women are participating, but we do not march them for that, because that's a completely different story, ladies and gentlemen. For discrimination, we are not discriminating them. We are allowing now, since the age is developed, also we allow them to take part, but we measure, what we do is actually set a different criteria for them, because they are different, that is where the concept of gender comes in. You think gender is done for nothing, they are very different. That is why it's called a male and a female, and that is why we give them, just because there is no discrimination, we give them fields of participation, but we measure them different because of different active roles, because of different biological figures, because of different psychology that really constitutes and defines them, Honorable Speaker. Not taken now. Not taken now. Moreover, they talked about the point of good movies, Honorable Speaker. That is a redundant point, because I don't see how quality is being compromised here, ladies and gentlemen. Because at the end of the day, when you march, there will be more discrimination, more discouragements, and that is how quality would be falling more. Moving on to my arguments, ladies and gentlemen, is the negative effects of yes, take it.
Ma'am, sir, you need to realize that awards are not given on the basis of roles that people play, but how well that role has been played. If a woman plays this particular role better than a man, why can't we give the award together?
Firstly, ladies and gentlemen, the question is, yes, awards are given on how good the roles are being carried on. But Honorable Speaker, why would we measure a male, Honorable Speaker, carrying out a very role of a female, Honorable Speaker? Because that is where he would not be best at the end of the day. Because face it, at the end of the day, if I actually tell a very male person to actually carry out, for example, the role that, for example, in emotion terms, also we cannot mix it. That's our point. Is that mixing is how, in what criteria will you be mixing it? Because basically, at the end of the day, they have different emotional problems, and women have different emotional problems. So, Honorable Speaker, how will you mix this two? How will you? The only way you can judge this two is by saying that the emotional problems of males are much more complex, and they have actually surpassed these problems, and that is why that is clearly discriminating, because that is when you are actually taking one side, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, that is why the jury, Honorable Speaker, creates two gender-based Oscars, because that is when you take into account of each capability. Now, moving on to my arguments is the quality compromisation. Now, Honorable Speaker, what happens is, in a movie, it is not only decided on the number of people that comes into the hall room. A movie is very much decided on various factors, because we often see good movies getting many Oscars. After we see movies, lead character, how was that being done? Also, we see how the heroine, how her role was done. You see, in each movies, there are different roles to be played. So, Honorable Speaker, when you actually mix this, what you actually do, when you make one award, you do not acknowledge the other awards, the other qualities that are being there, Honorable Speaker. For example, what happens is, when you actually judge a movie, just if you mix it, that is, you do not create any differentiation for gender, what happens at the end of the day is that what you do is actually do not take, for example, if it's a woman, male versus female in emotional terms, if you discard one by putting one on the top, what you are actually doing is actually not taking that very woman's role into consideration, which was actually done properly, very good. For example, a mother's role, Honorable Speaker, done by women, very good. But Honorable, just because a male has done a tougher emotional role, now he would actually get out. But that's not right, because at the end of the day, that woman has done her role, what she was supposed to do, in the best way possible. So that quality is not being acknowledged if you actually mix it, Honorable Speaker. So that mixing creates problems. Also, Honorable Speaker, the social message that you send is wrong, because now you're actually asking and burdening our women to carry on and fight with men. That is, you're actually putting them together, which never goes, Honorable Speaker. So with those few words, I end my speech. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Thank you.
The speaker spoke for 8 minutes and 19 seconds.
Yeah, thank you. Now, may I ask which speaker from the proposition to sum up their case? Here. There.
What team opposition failed to understand today is that not the concept of movie of Catwoman was actually a flop, but the movie itself, Mrs. Peterson. The fact is, women superheroes are as respected as male superheroes, Mrs. Peterson. But even if they agree to, and they have conceded to the fact that even though women can play male roles, males may fail to play women roles, emotional roles. We have a simple answer to that problem, Mrs. Peterson. We do not judge the person, judge an actor on his role, but how well he performs that role in the first place, Mr. Speaker, sir. When we talk about a father, when we talk about an emotional role, Mr. Speaker, sir, when we talk about a father and a mother, Mr. Speaker, sir, if a father cries like a mother, he's not doing a pretty good job, Mr. Speaker, sir. The fact is, he has to show a little sturdiness in his feelings. He has to be a man. Whereas the woman has to cry, has to show emotions. But at the end of the day, this award is for the best emotions displayed, Mr. Speaker, sir. So when the concept comes to this point, this very point, Mr. Speaker, sir, it automatically goes to who performed their roles better, Mr. Speaker, sir, not who performed the role of emotion the best, emotion the best. When you think like this, Mr. Speaker, sir, don't you think that unity of this award actually gives us the best of the world instead of the best of the gender itself, Mr. Speaker, sir? We believe that when Nobel Prizes can be distributed, the same Nobel Prize can be distributed amongst Mother Teresa and let's say Dr. Yunus, Mr. Speaker, sir, being males, having done different things to contribute to the world, Mr. Speaker, sir, we believe the same can happen for the acting world. Now, what they actually now to show you that the concept of Catwoman was not a flop, Mrs. Speaker, sir. She was brought back in Batman Dark Knight, Mrs. Speaker, sir, which was a blockbuster hit. And I would also like to remind you, Spider-Man, apparently a super hit, Mrs. Speaker, sir, went down, had a loss of millions just this year, Mrs. Speaker, sir. Spider-Man 4 was a complete disaster. So this completely proves to us that the concept of the movie does not actually result in the rate of the blockbuster, Mrs. Speaker, sir, but the acting itself. So in that way, we clarify the fact about how this award goes to the best performance rather than the best role, and separating the roles is quite mediocre, Mr. Speaker, sir. Now, basically moving on to the clashes that we have in this debate today. Number one, whether or not unifying this award in the first place would have problems in society itself. Number two, whether or not mixing these actors together would serve as whether or not there would be problems between these males and females characters to be judged on the same level, Mr. Speaker, sir. Now, going on to the first point of Mr. Speaker, sir, we believe unifying this award shows us that no gender is weaker than the other gender. In this case, Mr. Speaker, sir, it gives us a clear idea that this award goes to simply the best at what he does, Mr. Speaker, sir, and not the best at his role of his gender. This actually increases the quality of the award in the very first place, Mr. Speaker, sir. How is that so? Because now all the great actors in the world compete in one category, and when that happens, we see only the best win the award, Mr. Speaker, sir. Award, Mr. Speaker, sir. When we talk about emotions, Mr. Speaker, Speaker Sir, we have seen Will Smith perform in Pursuit of Happiness, winning Best Emotional Man, Mr. Speaker Sir. That emotion could have easily taken over any other women's emotional role in any other movie, Mr. Speaker Sir. This shows us that men are capable of winning in women categories. Women are more as well as capable of winning in male categories. And when that happens, I would also like to point out the Oscar Child Acting Award does not have any different sections. Children are considered as one. Why is that? Don't they have different roles too, if a male and a female, according to their teenage life story? If that is so, Mrs. Speaker Sir, why is there no section here? If the section, this shows us that this has already been done, and this procedure of selecting already works, Mrs. Speaker Sir, Mrs. Speaker Sir. And if they're talking about and the story that the second speaker gave us about a movie, Mrs. Speaker Sir, being different about male and female was redundant. Simply because we have seen movies like Freaky Friday, played by Lindsay Lohan. We have seen movies like Mean Girls 2, where these girls are not portrayed as damsels in distress, Mrs. Speaker Sir. Rather are those rocking and rolling. Now, when we talk about and this also signifies the level of artistry in the world, Mrs. Speaker Sir. Why is that? They have said that people have different genres according to their gender. We believe if Justin Bieber can sing girly songs and still have 100 million, 11 million fans just on a teenage basis, Mrs. Speaker Sir, we believe that singers like Avril Lavigne can also sing the famous Red Truck by Metallica and win an award, Mrs. Speaker Sir. This simply signifies the role that the problems that they have stated do not exist in current society. Moving on to the second point of class, whether or not the mixes would have problems being judged in the same level. We say no, Mr. Speaker Sir. Why is that? But before we move,
sir, based on the fact that there is no discrimination going on, why do we actually need to mix this up when we have different Oscars for?
Because we want the best of the best. We do not want best of one gender. We want the best of the best. We believe they can be put through the same procedure, and we have shown you the advantages of doing so already. It decreases the number of people getting the prize and increases the quality of the people getting the prize in the very first place. This has been our primary stance in the beginning of this debate. And now, how mixing them together will not hamper the judging level, Mrs. Speaker. We believe an actor is judged upon his role, Mrs. Speaker, how well he performs that role. Like I've said at the beginning of my speech, people will be judged differently, but at the end of the day, if it is an emotional role, it will depend on the emotion itself. If it is an and Mrs. Speaker, when we talk about the best actor or best actress role, actress Oscar, Mrs. Speaker, it will become just one stating the best actor. That signifies the unity and increases the quality in itself, Mrs. Speaker said. Anyone can win, and there is only one prize for prize to win, Mrs. Speaker said. There is no distinction. You win, you are the best in the world at that time. This signifies, this shows us that people can be judged on the same level, Mrs. Speaker said. When we see there are no physical deformities involved in the procedure in the very first place of selection, Mrs. Speaker, we believe it is a pretty easy decision, pretty easy process of selection, Mrs. Speaker, when it comes to this point. We have shown you that the same things that do not apply in sports, that's why we have divisions. We say this should not exist in the world of artistry, Mrs. Speaker, simply because anyone can be more creative than anyone else. The fact is, artistry does not have any link to gender. A male can be emotional, a female can be a tomboy. There is no difference of what gender you are, Mrs. Speaker. And we believe neutralizing the gender of the Oscar awards is the best way to actually promote this idea, to show people that they can compete. There is no discrimination in the world of artistry, Mrs. Speaker, that no one is affected by their gender in the very first place, Mrs. Speaker. This shows now, summarizing the debate and what we have done shown you this far. We have shown you how the progress in the film industry has taken place. We have also shown you how the significance of the Oscar increases if this motion is passed. And we have shown you how the value of award competitions increase and how Nobel Prizes follow the same way. And we have shown you how benefits to stakeholders increase. Thank you.
Speaker spoke for 8 minutes and 20 seconds. Yeah.
So the fact that you wouldn't have passed that. Yeah, size the your मानबे ना position क्या मानबे yeah but people बोलो that is
সবাই ক্লাস নেবে
Almost 2 years older than you.
What are the favorite students? Shop class. Shop split decision. Master का place is the speaker to come to the floor. So what I mean by that?
Yeah, Islam.
Yes. We already got a time shortage. Okay, no.
When are we gonna have lunch then?
After around 6. No.
That it takes it's the same
You know,
time.
in that case, you want to just give them the character for কিছু নাই ট্যাব তোমরা তো জানো নেক্সট রাউন্ড পাস করবা বেস্ট টাইমে কিছু নাই
Exactly. মানে
অন্যগুলোর
instantly.
class কিন্তু judge
It's
অন্যগুলোর
good.
করে।
Yeah, I know. We didn't
Why
make the
don't we have
case.
lunch in this round?
Yeah, the promotions are harder.
I'm really
Wait,
Wait, nothing is right now.
হ্যাঁ, আমরা বানাই।
We desperately need the time.
For Balash.
এই ESS बोल रहे हो?
আমরা last year
What about thumbs up?
It's not ESS with this.
What about thumbs up? मैं कुछ देखो.
Who is saying so? Yeah, lunch
Yeah,
break,
next
breakfast,
time.
break, lunch.
Our time is
Or else, no one will
একটু
last.
কথা break, yeah,
वहाँ कोई नाम नहीं सुना है कोई नाम नहीं सुना
আচ্ছা let's get down to the reply, yeah. তারপরে
You mean the way?
oh sorry
Lots of arrogant confusions, ladies and gentlemen. The first point of contention of today's debate: is there really a differentiation between the male and female artists? And has it changed that we need to change the procedure in which this award has been awarded, ladies and gentlemen? Is there an immediate change in the film industry that requires the process to be changed? The second point of contention, ladies and gentlemen: does it compromise the quality of movies in the very first place? Getting straight to the point, is there a difference between the male and female artists for which this Oscar procedure was such as it is in the status of ladies and gentlemen? You know what? Movies in most of the cases, let's leave out superhero for some time. In movies in most of the cases, they come and show the problems of the society. Ladies and gentlemen, movies are real life replicas in screens, ladies and gentlemen. In those particular situations, what we need to understand that those male and female, both of them are heroes, ladies and gentlemen. But we give them different names, heroes and heroines. But at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, both of them, we respect them for the amount of contribution they do to society, ladies and gentlemen. But what you need to understand is that their procedures differ. Let me show you how, ladies and gentlemen. As Shams has clearly come and shown you that when you talk about a female entrepreneur in some countries, ladies and gentlemen, the amount of barriers she faces to become a successful entrepreneur is very much different than a male faces, ladies and gentlemen. Mashfiq can come up and already talk about the very concept of how we can go in there and see the levels of success and how they actually topple those barriers in the very first place to get to the top, ladies and gentlemen. But let me tell you, they cannot be compared, ladies and gentlemen. Because at the end of the day, those particular individuals, society, those particular individuals' lifestyles, just because of their change in gender, varies and changes, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that when we are putting these two particular genders in movies, they have different roles. Why do we have heroes and heroines in a single movie, ladies and gentlemen? What you need to understand is most of the movies in the state school, ladies and gentlemen, it's not only about one central character, ladies and gentlemen. We have the roles of heroes that is being played in a movie. We have the roles of heroines that is being played in a particular movie, ladies and gentlemen. Let's talk about the blockbuster Rockstar movie at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that those particular guy was wonderfully, he replicated the problems he actually faced. Let that be his college life when he went and proposed to that beautiful woman, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that the same thing can never be replicated by a woman in that particular society, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand in an Indian society, when you talk about an Indian society, if a movie of an Indian society is being taken to to levels such as Oscar, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that social barriers differ in very different ways, ladies and gentlemen. The problem these particular individuals goes through in life is very much different. On the other hand, ladies and gentlemen, the female women who loves to watch Jangli Jawani with that guy, wants to take that guy to watch that particular movie, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that that view, that one of that particular woman could not be replicated by Ranbir in that particular movie, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is those particular women, like she has actually talked about the family she comes from, ladies and gentlemen. The conservative family that that particular woman comes from, ladies and gentlemen, that can never be replicated by a star such as Ranbir, ladies and gentlemen. So how can Ranbir be compared with that particular woman? You can arrogantly come up and talk about, you know what, both of them had barriers, both of them toppled those barriers, ladies and gentlemen. But what you need to understand is that that is diversified, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that the present awarding committee of Oscar, they recognize the diversification that exists in the society, ladies and gentlemen. We need to understand those particular individuals play different roles, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that Pamela Anderson, the kind of fan base she has, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be compared with the kind of fan base that Hugh Jackman actually had in, let that be in the movie, Hugh Jackman actually had in that movie Wolverine, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that those particular individuals, the roles they play is very much different, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that the physiology of a woman, the kind of fans it has and the kind of effect it creates can never be compared with that of Hugh Jackman, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand, they might go in there and talk about these attracting possibilities that these individuals have, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand that this is a differentiation that exists to the psychology of women at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. They talk about the differences they have in society. They accept the references that these individuals have in the society, ladies and gentlemen. And that is being portrayed in movies at the end of the day. So what we need to understand is those particular individuals are different and should be treated in a different way, ladies and gentlemen. When you talk about big music industries, ladies and gentlemen, let that be as it was unreported by them, ladies and gentlemen. She only can talk about JB in this last minute, as we get into that. Ladies and gentlemen, as far as the rock and roll industry is being concerned, the rock bands is being concerned, we do know famous rock bands such as my favorite Nickelback. There are other bands that be Linkin Park. We know a prosperous amount there. Hundreds of bands we know about, ladies and gentlemen, as far as the main dominated rock and roll industry is being concerned. But we only know about a few of those female dominated, let that be Evanescence. We can talk about that, ladies and gentlemen. But what you need to understand is they are a fair few, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot take them in the same possibility and compare these particular individuals, ladies and gentlemen, because the tastes of those who hears the music differs, ladies and gentlemen. You cannot expect what a male voice can give by a female voice, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that the amount of ripple it causes in the heart of a particular individual with the voice of a man cannot be replicated by the voice of a female, ladies and gentlemen. The emotional word that can be given by the voice of a man in his fans, ladies and gentlemen, cannot be replicated by the voice of a female individual, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that those particular individuals varies in this huge different number of ways, ladies and gentlemen. When you look at ads of Fair and Lovely, ladies and gentlemen, we do not let that be the men's or whatever, ladies and gentlemen. When you talk about this cosmetic industry, why do we see these women are actually coming in, ladies and gentlemen? Because they are being beautified in the society, ladies and gentlemen. That's how the society functions. We cannot compromise with it, ladies and gentlemen. And the movie industry is an entertainment sector, ladies and gentlemen. What we need to understand is that their very verification actually depends on those particular fields which cannot be differentiated. As far as compromising the quality of movies is being concerned, ladies and gentlemen, when these particular individuals will be going into the movies knowing that they have a particular lacking in a particular field, ladies and gentlemen, that will be unfair for those particular film stars, ladies and gentlemen. They cannot act the way they would have because they would be trying to replicate the role of a man in their particular individuals, ladies and gentlemen. That is the sort of discrimination the government side is actually proposing on today's house. What you need to understand, ladies and gentlemen, those effects that cannot be replicated when opposite gender cannot be incorporated into movies at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. What you need to understand is that those particular role models we are talking about, bringing them in movies is in a much more diversified manner that we have to take into consideration at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen. So at the end of the day, what the clarification we found as must be clearly able to talk about a man cannot cry in the way a woman can, ladies and gentlemen. They are different, ladies and gentlemen. And that very differentiation takes them to a level where they're being judged differently, ladies and gentlemen. Because at the end of the day, the roles they serve are very much different from each other. Thank you, sir.
For 8 minutes and 19 seconds.
Now, may I ask anyone from the first speakers of each opposition to present the replies?
Mr. Speaker, what was the very case in the hand that we had? The very case of why we should make it gender neutral? The case that we got from the government was on the first basis. The first they had was to create no discrimination, and then they want to find the best. But were they able to succeed in providing us with the justification why? No, Mr. Speaker, we don't see that. Today, opposition, I'll show you the 2 points of how artistry actually needs to be gender-based, because it's not a discrimination, but it's the categorization, and how the discrimination is not an evident point. Firstly, coming up to the very factual fact of them coming up and actually telling us that they want to divide, they want to merge them together because they want to hold the very fact of artistry. They believe that in these sectors, emotions can be portrayed by both the female and male. They believe that, see, a judge can judge on the emotion of how the role was played by the person rather than the emotions that were there. But you have to realize, why was it categorized there at the first place? You have to take consideration of social implication in the society, because a movie is based on that. They come up and keep talking about superheroes and blockbusters. You have to realize in Oscars, blockbusters do not get the award. It is the motion, the way the movie was carried forward that came up. They came up and said, the moment we make it together, actually we are doing it better, we're getting the best of the best, and there's no discrimination. We have to realize the film status was such that when it comes to these emotional movies, when it comes to these movies which actually get the Oscars, these are much more dominated by one sector gender. When we see the movies, we actually see more emotions coming up, like movies like Black Swan, or movies like The Independent, which is all based on female emotional characters. Those movies are much more prevalent in the society, and that is when we are discriminating. The social agendas, actually, when this comes to these dramas, are much more based on one particular gender than the other. Merging them is the point where the discrimination comes, because their bases are very different, and that is the social prospect we're showing in the opposition. They come up and say, no, a judge is qualified to do it. But why was it categorized in the first place, Mr. Speaker? If the qualification of judging was there so easy, why was it neutral based at the first point, Mr. Speaker? Because of these factors in hand. Yes, these may sound so much vague, but these are important factors in the society. People do look up to Oscars in that factor, Mr. Speaker. Otherwise, the Oscars wouldn't have been so promoted, because these are the factors that people look up to, and that is why this categorization was there. And this is not a discrimination, and it doesn't fend behind artistry to a back patch, but it actually shows that that particular categorization of gender takes the artistry to that. Discrimination is not actually prevailed, and we're showing you through our opposition how the discrimination is not prevailed, but gender neutrality is a problem to the discrimination. Artistry is still upholded in the house. We do not see people coming up and actually denying that our discrimination is not there. Our discrimination is there. We still see Meryl Streep, the woman, becoming the highest paid actress because of her emotions paid. We do not see the discrimination. It is the very artistry to the form they have performed is which it prefers. And men's characters are different. Their emotional sectors are different. A woman's emotional sectors are different. And these are the considerations categorization has been taking place. And that is why this motion cannot be passed, because it doesn't bring about any significant change in the first place. And that is why we really beg to oppose, because this motion brings about no justification and social implications do belong to the artistry form, and that is why we beg to oppose.
Speaker spoke for 4 minutes and 5 seconds.
Alright, now then we have the final concluding reply from anyone from the first two speakers. So,
Yeah.
thank you.
This debate boiled down to the question that whether or not men can play the same roles as women can play, and how exactly they are judged on the roles that they play. We believe, ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't matter that what roles these people play, because for the roles, for the how good the movie is, for that we have the best film award. We don't judge people on the roles that they play, but how good that role has been played, ladies and gentlemen. We don't, and therefore, because this side of the house could not answer us exactly why we are arguing on the fact that who can play what role does not come into debate. It is redundant, because we believe, ladies and gentlemen, what role they are playing, as long as the role is played good. Imagine if A is a man who played good, if B is a woman who played good, but then B played a certain particular role better than A. Does B deserve that award more than A, or do we give the award to both? We believe that when we give it to the person who actually acted better, that increases the quality, value of the award. That actually creates empowerment in the society. That makes people view that how important Oscars is, ladies and gentlemen, how hard it is to get that award. In the real life, as they talk so much about, we don't see that professions, that promotions are given on the basis that if they're differentiated, that is a male or a female, but the fact that how good they have performed that job, and that's what this debate has boiled down to. Let's see the issues that we have been arguing on and how we took those issues. Then we're talking about that how females are biologically different, and how there is categorization in sports and everything, and how this categorization should exist in film as well. What was our reply? We said that these two issues are mutually exclusive, because one requires someone to be physically fit, and the other requires someone to sing better, someone to perform better, someone to act better, and therefore that award that these two categories can be merged together and be given on the basis of how good they have performed. Then they have been talking about how emotions are important, and how a female cannot play the emotion of a male and vice versa. We believe, ladies and gentlemen, it comes down to the question that how good that emotion has been played, not on what the emotions were, ladies and gentlemen. Then they have conceded to the fact that there were progress in society. They said that there has been progress, but the very core idea that we tried to establish was that, women are actually playing males' roles. If the film industry can accept that change, the award bodies can also accept that change, and therefore we want to bring this change, and they had no reply to it. Then they have been talking about how this is not a discrimination versus a categorization, and this side of the house purely showed that how this categorization is unnecessary and compromises on quality versus quantity, because we are only giving awards to a bunch lot of people and not on the fact that how good that person has performed. So, and let's see what our arguments were. We've shown you the significance of Oscars and how this affirmative action sends a message to the society and how our model changes it. We've shown you that how there is a progress in acting, and this makes this an inherent need to bring this change about. We have shown you how with values it empowers awards, and how exactly competition increases, and how the quality of performance in film industry increases because there is now competition between male and female as well. We have shown you how it benefits the stakeholders, because if audience and how the movies, the actors, the actresses, the singers, the singers are actually benefited. So we